ISO FileMaker Magazine, the professional's resource for FileMaker know-how.
Hi there, my name is Matt Petrowsky. I've been a FileMaker software developer for well over 20 years, and the video that you're about to watch is a live stream that I recorded live. Now, if the content that you find doesn't really match what you're looking for, it's very possible that this is a video that's part of a series. So if it doesn't make sense where you're finding this particular video, then just click on the description down below and you will find a link that will take you to the full series, and you can start with video number 1 and go through all of the videos in sequence. If you like the content and it helps you out, then great. If you'd like more information, then you can always check me out at FileMakerMagazine.com. Alrighty, let's go for another video. Okay, developer layouts. That's the topic for this particular video. Let me set my time here. 15 minutes. There we go. All right. So why are developer layouts important? They are important because they allow you as the developer to see specifically your data in a view where some of that data isn't going to be on screen. So right now what we're going to do is we're going to go up to the Manage and the Layouts. You need to become familiar with the Command-Shift-L. And I'm going to create a developer layout. Now the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to start to create some folders that will work the way that I want to. I'll create a new folder, and that folder is going to be called Developer, because that's going to be my developer layouts. And then I'm going to create another folder, and I'm going to call it Solution. Now what you'll see me do is you'll see me create some other solution of some other folders in the Manage Layouts to segment out my user interface. In fact, within the solution, I'll go ahead and do it now. I will have UI layouts, and then I will have output layouts, or print if you want to call them. This will get moved into the solution. This will get moved into the solution folder. Let's see, solution, and then we'll put UI up there. And then you will also see me do this right here down the road. Might as well do it now. Utility. So there's a few different types of layouts that you use in FileMaker. Either the user is looking at them, or they are used for output, or they are something that the user does not look at. And you'll find out that when we use GoToRelated record and things like that, we need to load up a layout just to process records or do something. That's a future video at a future time, but right now I'm going to have developer layouts and a UI layout. So I can do one of two things with the layout that I have here on screen. I can say this is going to be my developer layout, or I can say this is going to be my UI layout. Now currently we have a lot of the fields thrown on here. I am going to use this first layout as the UI layout. So I will throw that into the UI folder, and then I will make a new layout and then make it the developer layout, which we'll take a look at. Now, there's a couple of ways that we can deal with this. Now, let me see if I need to fix this zoom 1 second here. Sorry, I'm shooting this live. You'll have to bear with me on this. Accessibility. We want to go to the zoom options. Zoom, smooth, keyboard follows. Gosh, I thought the settings for this, use gestures, smooth images. I don't know why that zoom follows a keyboard focus. Somewhere I thought there was an option where it wouldn't jump around like it's doing on the screen, but hopefully the video will still come out okay. Figure it out later because I don't want to waste your time. All right, developer layout. So the two ways that you can do a developer layout. I can choose to use FileMaker's new layout option right here, and it will take me through the FileMaker's wizard, or a new layout report right here, where FileMaker tries to assist me and say, is this for a computer? Is it a form or a list? Is it for a touch device? Which one? iPhone, iPad? And it attempts to make some assumptions for you. Once you get good enough within FileMaker, just duplicate your own layout. I mean, you've got so many different choices right here. I already know in my head what I want to do. Quite honestly, I never use this. Never. I don't think I have ever, actually, from the time that I started working with FileMaker. If you are a newer user and you like this, it does do a few things. For example, I could do this to make a table layout for my developer. In fact, I should do it right now just to see if it's any faster. I'm going to do that. Let's have a race. I'm going to call this developer table, not for phone, for computer, table, finish. That is pretty fast in terms of getting what I want. FileMaker is now telling me I want to pick which fields. Well, I want all of them. So I did a Command or Control A. I'm adding all of them. Modify table view. No, there's nothing that I want to do here with regards to adding any other fields. I can tell that my default field is already yucky, but that was how FileMaker would have me go through it, and it would ask me those prompts. Again, I have never used them, so I'm going to show you the way that I do this. What I would have done is I simply would have duplicated the capture. So I would have clicked duplicate button down here, and then I simply would have gone to that layout, which we can always open multiple windows. It's nice in FileMaker to work with multiple windows, so I'm going to open my original, which is right there. Let's close that one that FileMaker created for me, and then I can open mine, which is a duplicate of the original, and then all I do is I just switch my settings. I'm like, okay, I want to save this and I want it to be in table view, and done. I mean, that to me is better than the little wizard that FileMaker gives me in order to do things. Now on table view, given that this is going to be my developer layout, I'll go ahead and get rid of this developer layout. By the way, here's a short little tip for you. The delete button, when you click that, FileMaker will tend to give you these prompts right here. Do you want to permanently delete? Once you get comfortable enough with FileMaker, any delete prompt can be bypassed with the Option key, at least on Macintosh, probably Control or Shift on Windows. But I know I want this layout gone, so I'm going to hold down the Option key and boom, it's just going to disappear. Of course, you can cause yourself problems with that. If I double click in this Manage Layouts area, it brings up my layout setup where I'm able to change the name of this. That's about the only thing I would have had to do. Developer right there, other than switching the type. I'll move that up into my developer layouts. I will actually call this a specific thing. What I do is I like to distinguish what are developer layouts versus what are not developer layouts, and these things need to be connected in the table in the relationship graph in FileMaker. We'll do that just after we make some changes here. So table view. FileMaker has these three views. It has form, list, and table view. Table view we are interested in for ourselves as developers for a very important reason. We want to be able to see all data as that data is presented. Now there's a couple of issues that we have with data. I'm going to get rid of the scan button. It doesn't apply. In fact, one of the things that I will do is I will get rid of all of the fields right now on this developer layout, and I will drag them out and show you a very important aspect of a developer layout. So I'm going to do a Command A, select all of this. I do not want a label to show up. So down here at the bottom, I'm going to simply say I do not want any labels. I'm going to drag everything out. In this case, the amount of content is larger than FileMaker can handle, so I will say yes to accommodate to the layout. Why FileMaker does this, which I know is a question that some of you have, why FileMaker does some of these shorter and some of them longer, I don't know. I don't like it, but I'm just going to select everything here, and I'm going to make it all the same size. I'm going to use the Arrange and Align over here, and I'm going to align everything out to the largest width right there, just because, and I didn't get that one right there, just because I like to have those all be the same. Now the first thing I do for a developer layout is create the font that I want to use. I go over to the Appearance Inspector right here, and we are going to set this to a font of a monospaced font. So I'll just type in Courier right now because I know that's on pretty much most everybody's computer. There's a reason that we use a monospaced font for our developer stuff is because it allows us to distinguish between obscure letters. One of the biggest ones being zeros and O's. So with Courier set as my font, I'm now going to go crazy with my zooming. I'm now going to set this to a new style. My new style that I'm going to give it is going to be called code. And that's because I want to see things as code. I am going to also vertically center this field, and it is left aligned. That's great. And I'm going to now save that style, and I'm going to now save the changes to the theme. I'm now going to select all of the rest of these fields. I'm going to go to my styles palette, and I'm going to say, I want you to all be code. So this is now all a monospaced font. You can pick whichever one you like, and I go into browse mode, and I can now, this isn't the most ideal because I still can't tell the distinction between 0, but some monospaced fonts have a nice little dot or a slash in the middle. I also want to address these dates. I want to be able to see dates when, as a developer, in a very code-friendly format. So I do this for my timestamps. I go to the formatting, which we just learned about a little bit earlier, and I change this to a, for the timestamp, it is going to be a reverse notation, which is going to be a custom format, which I'm going to have to set, which is going to be year, and then I like the dash, and then month, which is going to be numbers, and then a dash, and then the day, which is 25 right there. And I'll get rid of that, and I'll set this to none, and that'll be none, and that is none. For day numbers, I do want 0, and I do want 0 right there. All right, so this is super helpful. When you are dealing with dates, did it do it on that? Timestamp created on. That is custom. Good find here. I'm glad you're watching this video. Why did that not show up properly when I was in browse mode? Why is it still showing like that? This is a unique peculiarity of a timestamp field. If a timestamp field does not have formatting applied to both the date and the time, it will not render. You have to address both components of that particular field type. So I have to go to the time here, and we can see that as entered isn't going to work. And sorry about the jumping. I am going to find that and address it. I could do hours, minutes, seconds. That's going to come up, and I like to go 24-hour time on my hours, minutes, seconds. I do want to see my zeros, and I do want my zeros. All time values for me, date, time, need to be the same. So there we go. There is my time. And what happens, it puts it all nice in a nice little column for me to be able to see. Of course, you do have to learn how to read military time or 24-hour time. Those of you in Europe won't have any problems. So rather than doing that for each of these other date time fields, so the timestamp created on and the timestamp modified being the same, I've already done the formatting once. I am not going to do that again. I am simply just going to option drag this field, and I'm going to re-specify that that's going to be the modified on. Much easier to do. Once I've taken the time to apply that formatting, I just take a copy of whatever I have, go into browse mode, and you can see that it's now applied to the modified as well as this. So for this view, each view in FileMaker has some options. I'm going to right-click here and see if I can get to an option as I zoom out. Table view. So when I right-click here and I get this option, notice that I have these settings of edit properties, I have reset, and I have modify. This reset is really pretty cool when it comes to developer layouts, because as you will see, we can put the fields in the order that we want to see them. But for right now, I'm going to choose this edit properties. Now in FileMaker, there's multiple ways to get to to the same features. This table view property, there's a couple of things that I like to do, and that is turn on the top navigation, the header, the footer, the bottom navigation, and I do not like hard grid lines. I like to make those nice and soft, so I'll do the first gray, or as I call it, white. You have almost gray. That probably could be the first gray, but I call this gray 1, 2, 3, and just count up. So this to me is the first gray I can see. I should call that one gray. If you have container fields, then it's always pretty cool to be able to set this, this custom height value. If you have containers and you want to see them as thumbnails larger on your developer views, do this. And if I didn't mention it, the whole point of this is for you to be able to see your data where the user is going to see something completely different within your user interface. So here I am going to be able to see my data. No user is ever going to interact with this. In fact, what we will do is we will end up turning it off so that the user cannot access it. If you do not know, these checkboxes actually determine what shows up right here, and then also under, where is it? Scripts, view, there, right here. So under view, go to layout. So right here, under the view menu, everything that is here is because it is checked in the Manage Layouts dialog box. Everything that is here is the same thing that we see in that menu. If you don't want to see it here, and you're going to leave this accessible within FileMaker, you have to turn it off here. So in my solution, if I was doing this the FileMaker way, I might turn off everything. If UI doesn't make sense to the user, I would rename this. But in essence, I would turn off all of these if this was the only layout that I wanted a user to be able to access. Because you go here, and now you can see that that is the only layout I can access. So if you want to control what's here, it is with those checkboxes in the Manage Layout. All right. And as I stated, the developer layout is for me. The only thing I need to do now is I need to associate these within the relationship graph so that they are distinct and I can tell the difference between them. So here is what I do. A table occurrence is simply a pointer to a base table. You can have multiples of them. You can see that as I hold down the Option key, just like I did with a field or Control or Shift or whatever it is on Windows, I can create a second instance of this. Now, currently, both of these layouts, my UI layout and my developer layout, are all tied based on this table occurrence. I'm going to switch one of them because I'm going to rename one of these. Because what happens is once you start to connect these with relationships, once you make a connection, then things can be seen across tables. And we'll talk about that in the future. But for right now, I want to create a dedicated table occurrence that is not connected to anything ever. And this developer layout will never have anything what is known as a script trigger. And script triggers, you can have them on layouts and on objects on layouts. They can become a problem. So a developer layout is a safe place that you can go where you know that no script triggers are going to run and nothing is attached. You can do this behind the scenes as part of your scripting, and it's also the place where you're able to view your data, especially if that data isn't shown on a given layout. I, as a matter of my preference, prefix all of my developer layouts with the @ symbol. You can choose to use whatever you want. I also collapse it up here, so all I need to do as a final step now is assign this particular layout to that particular table occurrence. Because we know that this layout, when it was originally created, was associated to that other capture. In fact, we can see right here that this layout is tied to the table occurrence that does not have the @ symbol. So I want to reassign this, which I will do. You can do this in multiple ways. I could go up to the menus, or I can right-click directly on the layout. And here's where I can access the layout setup. I access that. And here is where you can see that this particular layout, its setup, is showing records from capture. I am going to switch this so that it is on my @ symbol capture. Because what we're going to see is we're going to see that we will be connecting things to the UI capture, but this will be my developer capture, nothing connected. Now you notice something happened here. All of my fields actually just switched out. What's the quickest way to fix this? I could take the time to double click on each one of these, and I really don't want to do that. This is where we get into context. And context will be an ongoing theme as you learn FileMaker. Currently, our context is this, what we are looking at. This layout context is on my @capture table occurrence. So it is on this. But the fields that it is showing are coming from this. We know that because of the double colons. Anytime you see the double colons at the beginning of a field on a layout, it means that that field is not coming from the same table that layout is tied to, or table occurrence. And you should also know, FileMaker is really bad in their own documentation about distinguishing between table occurrence and table. And one of the most confusing things for new users is, what is the distinction between a table occurrence and a table when you're looking at the graph? Well, these are essentially the exact same thing. But when it comes to my data, there is only one thing. There's only one here, but on the relationship graph, you can have any number of these pointing to that one thing. And so naming becomes very important. So instead of simply doing all these, I know that the timestamp created on has the formatting that I want. I'm going to switch that one. I'm going to change my context from the capture without the @ symbol to the capture with the @ symbol. We see the double colons go away. Context is that this field is now within its own context, and everything else I'm going to get rid of. Easy way to get rid of everything is to select everything with Command A, hold down the Shift key in order to deselect what you don't want and get rid of them. So that was my easy move, because all I'm going to do now is I'm just going to drag all of my fields out that I want. I'll select all here. I know that I'm going to get the timestamp an extra time. Change these all to code. Super simple. This timestamp created on is the one that I want. I'll put it back in place, and modified on, I will get rid of that one, and option drag in order to make the modified. Turn off my create label, and there we go. I'm back to the point where I want. So I showed you this little trick right here where you can choose from a layout setup, but more importantly, when we're viewing this in table view, I showed you that all important reset. So when it comes to your developer layouts, the order in which you see your data becomes very important. Many times you want to see your primary key as the first item, and then you want to see all the rest of your data maybe in a certain order. So in FileMaker, in table mode, what we can do is we will arrange our fields according to the way that we want to see them. The non-friendly way is to do this. I want to see the data first, so I grab that table or that field and I drag it. I can make this larger, and I say I want to see the family name right here, and then I want to see the customer name. This is a very manual process, but it also is not tied to the way that the fields are presented on the layout. Watch what happens when I go into layout mode here, and I now pick my order by doing a top-down of how I want to see these. Let's say I want to see date of birth, I want to see family name, and I want to see, let's say, middle names. I know that these truncations are garbage, but I'll put first, middle, and family. My timestamps, my created time, and time by, let's say I want those down at the bottom. All this Virginia specific I don't really care about. Let's move the rest of this up. I've got the first name. I want the first name, the middle name, the family name. I want the data. I want to see that up towards the front. And the customer number, date of birth. Let's see that right there. Ultimately, here's what I'm getting at. I am dragging these into the order in which I want them to be presented in my developer layout in the table view. And if you need to fix this, we're just going to select everything. We're going to use our tools that are available over here in FileMaker. We are going to arrange them by all popping them on the left and then equidistantly spacing them within themselves. Sorry if that was a loud little pop right there. And let's resize them out. So we get this all nice and clean. Even for my developer layouts, I like to have things clean. But now, back in this mode, we can see that the order of the fields isn't quite what I was expecting. I took the time to arrange them from top down, and this is where we get table view reset. When I reset this, I get this nice little dialog that says restore the default table view appearance. I say yes, and lo and behold, this puts all of the fields in the order that I like to see them, in the order that they are arranged top down on the layout. For me, that is a really nice way on my developer layouts that if I add a new field in after the fact and I want to see it, all I have to do is push these down and put it right in the middle, reset the view, and I'm always looking at my developer layouts the way that is most comfortable for me to see the data. And of course, all you do is you just, whenever you want to see your developer layout, which this will actually be named capture, because it's based off of capture. I'll have two captures in here, but more or less, if I want to see my developer layout while I'm developing, so this layout, I'm going to be developing my layout. I'm not going to have this. I'm going to have all of my pretty layout the way that I want it to look on the iPhone. It'll be nice. I'm not going to take the time to temporarily put fields on. Sometimes I do. What I'm going to do is I'm going to open up my UI field, work on that and design it. I'm also going to be able to open up my developer layout as table mode and be able to look at my data. So what was the first name captured? Let's go take a look. Yep, first name was captured. And I'm doing that referencing as I develop. It's a great way to go when you're going to be working with FileMaker and you're going to be hiding things that are not going to be on your UI layouts. So that is developer layouts. I will be evolving that as we go along. It's our first developer layout. We haven't even gotten to the point where we're starting to lay out the structure. This is just a utility right now. This is a utility that will capture any American driver's license. And a reminder, if any of you are out there and you're in a foreign country, if you have put in the processing for your license, contact me directly. You can do that at editor@FileMaker Magazine. If you like these videos, click subscribe. Give me a thumbs up and hit that bell icon if you want notification. So let's see if there's any comments in here. I might have, I do have one that came in as I'm shooting these. Unfortunately, I'm not giving a whole lot of people notification too early on these videos. I'm just shooting them and trying to get them. Would you create a timestamp field style and then apply the style to each timestamp? Good question, Peter. Unfortunately, when it comes to FileMaker's styles, when we are in FileMaker and let's say here's my best example that I can when it comes to styles. I'm going to set an icon on this button, actually an icon and text. And we will look at, let's switch that right there. All right, so when it comes to styles and how FileMaker actually works. So in the Appearance Inspector, we've got this button and then we've got access to all these different style settings. There are some things that FileMaker does include as part of styles and does not include as part of styles. On this button, the size of this button or the size of the icon is not part of the style. So the text, if I save this button as a certain style by giving it its own new style, and then I make this text red or whatever, every other button that shares that same style, if I change it from red to green, it will apply. But the size of the icon will not. When it comes to data fields, per Peter's question, over here where we have our data fields, such as the timestamp down here created on, when we have applied the formatting here in the data formatting, this is not considered part of the style. So unfortunately for some settings on fields, and this just comes as a matter of experience, some settings do not apply to styles. It would be really cool if FileMaker would enhance this development environment and allow us to say, according on a style by style basis, what does or does not apply or carries along with the style. But unfortunately, that's just one of the settings. And because FileMaker uses CSS underneath the hood, CSS just doesn't even have some of the options that would be specific to, say, styling a date or so forth. But hopefully that helps out in terms of that question. And we had a few more people looking good. David mentioned, hi, what hours and days? In all honesty, this is sort of just random and ad hoc. I'm doing this at times when I am available. I am trying to do 1 o'clock on weekdays, but again, the days really vary depending on my workload, when I'm able to do them, given that I'm doing this for free. If I had enough people and they wanted to pay for it, I could do it on a very consistent, regular basis, which I have done in the past, but I'm wanting to give this to the world and have anybody be able to use this and also learn FileMaker. So the best I can say is click the bell notification after you subscribe on YouTube, and I'm really doing my best to try to give at least like a 30-minute to hour notification before I start recording these live. Plus, I want to give people the opportunity to ask questions like Peter just did, which is a great question and helped someone out. All right, so I've gone definitely longer than 15 minutes on this video, and I will see you in the next one. All right, see you later.